happened. Hopefully it's actually functioning this time. I had it up for like 2 minutes and then it just took a big fat shit, which is really unfortunate for me. Why is it not working? Yeah, it is. It's working. Okay. It's actually working. I thought it wasn't working for a second. That get mad. But it seems to be functioning at this point, so that's good. That much is good. Let's see if we can fix this, because I already fucking edit everyone for no goddamn reason. It didn't work. So let's try that again. Sorry to bother everyone a second time. Last thing fucking Schizoid needs is to be bothered by this dumb fuck. But c'est la vie, right? There we go. Let's see if this actually does what it's supposed to. It gets people in here so we can talk. So frustrating. Not exactly the best day I've been having, that's for sure. It's been giving me some issues. I don't know. Just bad luck, I guess. All I did was try this whole new OBS fucking layout with some changes, thinking, oh, well, I'm paying for it, so I might as well take advantage of the situation and use it. Oh, there we go. I can actually see viewers popping in, so that's good. Type something for me in chat, if you will, just so I know it's actually functioning, and I'm not just talking to myself. That would be delightful, thank you. I'm not entirely sure why the stream initially took a dump, but it did, so hopefully it is not. Same shit, different toilet. Stream is working. Thanks, Aloys. Thanks, Taito. Yep, same shit, different toilet. Always. Always. So I mentioned before that if like I'm feeling particularly shit, I'm still gonna stream. So today's one of those days. And yeah, maybe if I talk about it a little bit, it'll kind of work its way out of me, or help or something. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I won't do anything. I doubt it will, but who knows? Who knows, right? This is all an experiment. This is all just giving things a shot. I got 4 peeps on. That's good. Just this rough day. That's all. I'll talk about it without getting into details or anything. It's just one of those feelings that maybe some of you relate to, or lack thereof, whatever you want to call it. It's weird. It feels strange when it happens. Yeah, it does. It does feel really odd. How do you guys like the little setup? It's a little better, right? Looks a little nicer. I found a half-decent looking overlay, and I thought, oh, okay, well, I can use some of this. And so I took off the stuff that I didn't like and kept the stuff I did like. I don't know if the reason the stream took a big dump is because I tried using one of the other features. I'm going to try not to use any of the other features for now. I fully support having an angst support stream. I don't need... It sounds gross, man. Like, I know, I get it. That's what we're here for, support, awareness, and blah, blah, blah. But it just, it's hard for me to differentiate between, like, support and pity. You guys know how it feels, right? Like, yeah, it's just gross. It just feels gross when you have this, like, sense of, oh, other people can help you with something, and then it just feels, makes you feel uncomfortable, usually. But besides, my bullshit, which is kind of the first part of what I wanted to do, is just talk about it as a whole, not really talk about my stuff specifically because that's boring, but talk about maybe things that might make sense to you, that I don't know, maybe you experienced, maybe not, I don't know. I think it's pretty relevant to the whole PD action. And also, I wanted to look over this interesting article. Well, it was some kind of research or article that was listed on one of the Reddits that I thought looked cool. So, might be worth a gander. Nah, pity's for chumps. I mean, in a more same brah, yeah, type of way. Yeah, I get it, man. Pity is for fucking chumps. Yeah, anyway. So, since there's a few of you already on, I guess I'll get started. I guess what I wanted to talk about right now, I do, is this, like, strange sense, like, of failing or being a failure. And it's kind of difficult, because since your behavior is so different and you feel so utterly disconnected a lot of the time, there are those days where you feel a little more connected than others, and on those days that you feel like particularly disconnected and you're just like, oh, I can't seem to kind of get a hold of what's going on around me too well, as far as like trying to get into it or something, and your energy's running kind of low, so then you don't really feel like masking or anything, especially, and it just sucks because it seems to hit you like a ton of bricks, and especially when it's a day or a situation in which like maybe you're hoping it won't happen because something's going on that day, or you weren't expecting it to, per se. Like you thought, oh, I'm fine. Like today I feel okay, I think, and then you don't, for whatever reason. Something happens and then you just don't feel okay anymore. And, if there's like an event or something that you told other people you were going to take part in, or you were expected to, it sucks. It sucks when you try to explain somebody something and, you get misunderstood sometimes, or there's a kind of there's a situation in which people sometimes try to read between the lines of something you're saying when you're just kind of expressing how you are, quote unquote, feeling at that given moment, and then it's misinterpreted and seen as something else entirely. Hi, Steve. And even if they come to understand, like, oh, okay, that's not what you meant, or whatever, it's just the initial situation kind of makes you feel like shit. So, like, I guess I can give one more little detail. This is about being a dad. So today I wasn't up for going to a thing, right? And I was initially okay with going, but then I don't know, something happened. Like something happens in you, and you're just like, oh man, I'm not feeling like I can do this right now for some reason. But I was still gonna do it. I was still gonna go, because I can handle myself even when it's kind of rough. And there are certain responsibilities and things, and I had already said I was gonna do it and everything. And so I tried to kind of just express the situation, and sometimes it gets misinterpreted, and that's kind of my fault too, because I wasn't very clear, perhaps, because I wasn't even sure what it is that I was feeling or what it is I was enduring, and so there's a kind of a loss in that translation between someone that's a Zoid and not, and you know how that can be. And it leads to misunderstandings that could upset another person or whatever, or lead to questions being asked that you don't really have answers for. That's the worst too, I think, is when people ask you things like, well, why don't you feel like going or something, and you're just like, you don't really have an answer to that. It's just you don't. But it was. I tried to vent at one point about it just to kind of get it out of my system, but I guess because of the misunderstanding, it kind of just made me spiral a little bit more into it. And so then, at that point, I really didn't feel like participating in anything social. So it was just a miscommunication. It's not really a situation where anybody's to blame or anything. It's just, but it's still difficult, right? Because then you get these kind of negative feelings of like, am I failing people that like I care about or something? And that might not be as relatable to you guys because maybe you don't really care all that much about too many people or whatever. But usually there's at least one, right? There's at least one person for all of you. And when something like anhedonia or the avolition kind of seeps in, and it's hard for you to kind of explain in a way that doesn't seem like you're just trying to bail or trying to just get out of things, like in some kind of superficial manner. Like, oh, I'd rather be doing something else, you know? It sucks. It sucks really bad. It's a shitty feeling. And it's difficult well, I'm a dad, so my daughter said one thing that kind of got to me, and it wasn't anything malicious or bad or anything. It's just, I guess I read too much into it, perhaps, but I said I wasn't going to go, and she was obviously a little disappointed, and she was like, oh, okay, well, that's not good. Like, I wish you would come. She's young, and she looks at me and she says, I feel kind of bad leaving because you're going to be all alone. I don't know why that got to me. That really kind of struck a chord in me. Through no fault of her own. It's just my issues. But when she said, oh, I feel bad because we're going to leave you all alone. Or alone at home. Or all alone. Yeah, all alone. You're going to be all alone. And she meant, obviously, that, she felt bad that they were going out. And they were going to go do something. A certain type of social thing. And I wasn't coming along. And normally I would have gone along regardless of how I feel about it. But I don't know. It's just, like I said, a miscommunication, blah, blah, blah. And it was a bummer to hear that, to say the least. Now, it was devastating. I'm not going to lie. It was devastating to hear, even though it wasn't meant to be harmful or anything. But to me, it was just... Because it reminded me of things, like the concept of being all alone, right? And then being told that someone else feels bad for you because you're going to be all alone. But you want to be isolated, but you don't want to be all alone either. And then just hearing those words, I guess, come from my daughter, even though they aren't meant to be, like, it felt like it was a reminder of what's eventually going to, like, happen to me, right? And, I don't think that's what's going to happen to me. But there's always that doubt. There's always that kind of thing in the back of your mind, as a schizoid especially, that you're just going to be all alone, like, forever. Or something's going to happen. And in the end, it's all for naught, and you will be alone. And as a father, that's pretty fucking terrifying. The idea is terrifying because I love my kids so much, and I love my wife, and there's always this thing in the back of my mind that's telling me, like, oh, you're gonna do something, or you're not gonna be able to overcome this or that, or you're gonna disappoint somebody or another too many times, and you're gonna be all alone. And it's rough. It's a really difficult thing because you feel like you're failing everyone around you. And that eventually you're going to fail them so much because of your situation, because of your PD or otherwise, that it's going to get to a point where you will, in fact, be all alone. It sucks. I don't know how to describe it. It's not a good sensation. My body right now is trying its best to not make me feel, numbing me out pretty good. But I know I don't feel good. And already prior to this, it could have been just a lead up, because prior to this, I was already incredibly stressed out in my own way about some other things going on, and all sorts of just stuff hitting me, and just life, life events. And unfortunately, when you have other negative life events and you're a schizoid, like when you have stuff that is kind of like putting a pit in your stomach, something stressful, it doesn't exactly like translate into, say, crying or just a normal type of anger. Because I have a cold rage, but I don't know. It's not whatever's going on with everything happening, and then what happened today. Like there's just a pit in my stomach that I can't quite describe. I felt gassy all day, but I know it's not just like a physical ailment. It's something else, and it's just really bothering me. And it's like a sense of anxiety or otherwise. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe you guys can relate to that. Maybe you guys understand that when something especially stressful is going on, or quote unquote stressful, that even though you're not like falling on your knees sobbing or screaming out of desperation or whatever, you just get this like tightness in your chest and in your stomach, like you're having these negative physical symptoms, and then you get angry at yourself because it's like, why am I feeling these things? I don't want to. Stop it. Anybody in chat know what I'm talking about? I'm sure you guys do, but it would be nice to see some kind of oh yeah, that brah, that thing, that super garbage feeling. Unless my chat's not working or something and I'm stupid. Let me see here. I think it's working. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know how this thing's been going, to be honest. This stream, half the time. But anyway, Steve, you know what's up, huh, Steve? Yeah. So, like, yeah, I'm not, like, falling over myself or anything. It's just this, like, really tight feeling in my chest. It just feels like I can't quite breathe as well as I like. Yep, that feeling of your chest, like, concaving in on itself like a heartburn, but at your core. Yeah, I get it, too. Yeah, you know what I mean. And, it sucks because I wish I could just, like, get angry or cry or something. It would probably be easier, because when that does happen to me, it gets really bad. It gets really, really extremely bad. So it just generally but doesn't occur, but it hasn't gotten to that point right now. It's not to that level, but it's definitely at this weird kind of level. My sleep's really bad, tossing and turning. Apparently I got a bruise on my wrist. Look at that nasty bruise in my sleep at some point. So I guess I've been tossing and turning. I must have hit like something in the room while I was like sleeping or something, because I got a nasty fucking bruise, and I'm not sure where it came from. I just kind of woke up with it. And I guess I wanted to share that. Like, I wanted to talk about that a little bit, because I mean, that's the point, right? We're supposed to kind of relate to one another and understand. I don't know. When this sort of stuff happens, like, it's hard for me to really enjoy much of anything. To be honest, I'm not much enjoying this right now, which is weird, but it's still more comfortable and chill than doing anything else, to be honest. Tied to art. Guy, that's some paranormal movie hijinks right there on your arm. Right? No, for real, man. I had to have gotten that in my sleep or something. Like, probably, like I said, tossing and turning. There's like this weird gap on my mattress where like my hand sometimes slips back, and like I'll wake up and my arm will be asleep. And my dreams have just been, oh man, not pleasant. And not the like cool nightmares. I'll take those. More like just depressing and really uncomfortable shit. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know if anybody in chat has any of those stories, any thoughts on that matter in particular. Like, hey, what's up, Dumb Money Media? Nah, my bad. I did that to you last night. Accidentally drop a gold bar on you. Get out of here. You dropping the gold bars on me? Get out of here. Fucking guy. No, it's just... It's weird. That's a shitty part, I guess. It's just... There's so much I can't communicate to even the people I love about how I quote-unquote feel. And the worst part is when it happens and it doesn't seem... See, this is the difficulty, is there probably is a reason, and I can probably name a few reasons why I'm feeling like this right now, or whatever. I can like probably guess, but I can't like objectively tell you like, oh, this is why. I can just guess based on like what would normally cause somebody a significant amount of stress and a sense of discomfort, I guess. And I can tell you what those things are. I'm not going to, but I can tell you what they are, but I don't really feel connected to the things that are causing it, like in a capacity that is, I guess, conventional normal emotion. So it's weird. It's weird. Taito, I feel like when we're in that moment, it's so hard to word what we're thinking to people who don't necessarily think how we tend to. It's like explaining a color that others just can't see. Yeah, exactly. So I can tell you guys just kind of know what I mean. I guess that's what I find relieving, what I find cathartic, is saying it, not having quite words for it, saying, you guys know. And then you guys go, yeah, we know. The thing. The bad thing. Yeah, the bad thing. That's whatever that thing is, whatever you can define it as. To the term avolition or anhedonia or whatever you want to... I don't know, man. Like, whatever you want to call it. But it just feels like my brain is doing a, like, battle with my soul. The mind and the body. The soul and the mind. Some conflict. Yeah, bad feelings caused by unknown stressors. See, but the stressors are known on like a cognitive level. Like, I know what the stresses are, but I don't feel them like I probably should. And so I feel like I can't process them in any capacity. That would help me get past this initial set. So all I have to do is wait out the waves of just discomfort. And then when it negatively impacts my ability to, say, go out and do something with my family in a, more functional way that could go and just fake it till I make it. And in the past I've had to do that as far as really not wanting to be somewhere, but just having to be somewhere. And I can change the context within my mind to make it a lot easier to do something like that. And it's fine because the context is important to me. Like going makes the wife happy, makes the kids happy. I like them happy. I love them. Thus, I can do these things. Right? And so then it makes it a lot easier, and I can almost enjoy them. But some days it just hits you with like a fucking sack of potatoes just across the face. And all I wanted to do today was just share it, and maybe an acknowledgement of it, and then just kind of go through the motions and get through it anyway. But the misunderstanding, the miscommunication led me to feel extra bad. And then, I ended up not going. But then not going, even though I'm relieved because I'm not having to deal with that social situation, I'm also not relieved because I know there, like in the back of my mind, there's some kind of disappointment or failure on my part. I don't know. It's just the big bad boogaloo. Yeah, it's the big bad fucking boogaloo. That's a good way to describe it. I don't know another way to describe it. It's just funny because, like, I would say, "Oh, share your stories in chat," but like, you're Zoids, you probably don't want to share too much, and that's understandable. That's, I guess, my job, not yours. Especially those lurkers out there, which I probably comprise like 90% of the people that listen to me. Strange. But let's move on to a different subject. I think that's enough of that. That was a cathartic somewhat. Just saying it and then seeing a few people go, I know what you're talking about, without me having to explain myself in any way or having to translate it to people is nice. It's nice. Oh, man. It's weird. It's like, I feel like gassy. It's like bloated, like you're sick or something, but I know it's just that. I know it's just stress levels, stress hormones, and my body just fucking with me. Just fucking with me. Okay, so today, besides that wasted half hour of nonsense, I did want to talk. I wanted to read an article that somebody had posted on the Schizoid Reddit. Somebody by SCH65. Credit to them for finding it. I don't want to be one of those tubers that like just like steals shit off Reddit and then proclaims like, "Oh, I found it" or something, or like, "Look what I came across." No, like, okay, that's the guy who posted it. Credit goes to him, but I'd really like to look at it. So according to what he posted, it's an interesting journal article on therapists struggling to work with SPD patients, right? It's hard for us to really, how do I put this, picture or deal with the idea of like someone struggling to deal with us, right? It just feels silly only because like we feel like that struggle is probably nowhere near as difficult as the struggle of just being us. But nonetheless, I think it might be a significant thing to go over. Aloy says, sometimes I throw up for no reason. I can only assume it's stress. Yeah, it could be for sure. Taito, it's hard to share in chat since we're limited to like 200 words, but I'm on the bathroom floor right now since my mother invaded my room in good spirits. That's how it goes, right, man? If any garden hermits are on that want to jump on, just go for it. I don't care. It honestly makes things easier to have peeps to go over stuff with. But in any case, let's get started. I Am Not Complaining, Ambivalence Construct in Schizoid Personality Disorder by Birgit Thilstrup, PhD, Morton Hayes, PhD. Patients with schizoid personality disorders often challenge clinicians because of their seemingly detached and restricted affective behavior, which may be interpreted as lack of motivation for treatment and lifestyle changes. However, Bleuler, I don't know how to pronounce her, Bueller, I'm going to go with maybe a silent L or something, indicated that intrapsychic dynamics of ambivalence in a schizoid disorder, and it has been discussed in later literature on psychopathology. Schizoid's ambivalence refer to contrasting feelings in patients of a seemingly emotional, detached appearance that may curtain an inner heightened sensitivity and longing for closeness. This article introduces different diagnostic and theoretical descriptions of ambivalence construct in the schizoid personality disorder. The discussion is elaborated by means of a case sample, presenting both the patient's and professional's point of view on the treatment process. We use the concepts of treatment alliance and countertransference as explanatory models in the discussion of how the schizoid ambivalence may affect the treatment of relationships, or treatment relationship. Introduction. In our work with patients with substance use disorders, we have frequently noted that over the years some patients tend to be forgotten by their therapists and caseworkers. These patients initially present as awkward yet friendly and compliant. As the patient is not very problematic, usually it is a male patient, does not come up in regular supervision. Little or no progress is noted by the caseworker or therapist, and as time goes by, the therapist tends to lose interest in the patient, directing focus and attention to more challenging or engaged patients. That's what I'm talking about, guys. You gotta be more challenging for them. No, but seriously, man, that's one of the issues of the schizoid is we tend to be pretty innocuous as far as other PDs and things go, and we are forgotten for that very reason. So since we don't have very many cool negative positive symptoms, I guess, that, you know, like we don't tend to freak out and spin around and yell and, you know, all kinds of stuff. Usually schizoids alone, unless you have other comorbids, and then you might do some more of that, but they usually will treat you for that, not so much for the schizoid stuff, right? Because you know, that stuff actually affects the external world. Meanwhile, the schizoid is doing everything they can in their power to not affect the external world in every way, shape possible. So we gotta stop doing that, but we can do positive external changes to the world so that people notice us and then go, hey, maybe we should help them more with their negative symptoms so they can be really, you know, useful and, you know, more just functional and happy with their existence. In any case, when we teach psychopathology at workshops for caseworkers and therapists, we suggest that often this pattern, this is a little too big, there we go. Often this pattern emerges which patients suffer from schizoid personality disorder. We suggest that this pattern emerges because the patients are unable to communicate their difficult feelings and inner worlds. But we also stress a substantial proportion of patients with the disorder may experience more benefit from treatment than they are able to communicate. Most participants in such workshops tend to react with a mixture of relief and shame to these descriptions. They recognize that one of their patients might have schizoid disorder, and they have indeed either lost interest or distanced themselves from him, reasoning that he was friendly, maybe strange, and probably lonely. But because he did not complain or cause ruptures in the treatment setting, he was also a patient with whom they did not feel very involved. I mean, that's just funny to me, man. Like, a therapist losing interest in you because they can't connect to you, and the entire point of the PD is to not let people connect to you. So that's pretty hilarious. That's pretty hilarious to me. Let's see here. Oh, to be a doctor so annoyed by the lack of progress of schizoid patient that they gotta write a thesis on it. Sigh. Names are whack. I mean, we are challenging. They just don't see the fun part of how challenging it is to deal with someone like us. Steve, positive and negative smashed together to create neutrality. Therapist, come on, man, just say something. Doesn't help me look forward to therapy starting. No, it's alloys. Okay. I want to make something clear. I want to make something clear right now before I continue. Okay. These are issues, yes, that therapists have with patients that are schizoid, right? Especially if you're not diagnosed and they don't know what they're looking at and you're presenting a mask or something, then it's really difficult for them. So we don't make it any easier, right? But the best thing you can do as a schizoid person that wants to get help with the negative symptoms is to tell them, hey, I think I'm this, possibly. I need help with these negative symptoms. I don't want to change fundamentally necessarily the way I perceive reality. Maybe it's not a cognitive issue. It's more of like the way you experience your world and the way the world reacts to you. And the negative symptoms that come from that during like trauma via youth or something. and less to do with like, hey, my perception, the way I interpret reality is necessarily incorrect or bad. So you wanna place emphasis on like, are you happy with your life? Are you suffering? You don't understand what your suffering is. Are you suffering? If you are suffering, you want to place the emphasis on the suffering and how they can help you alleviate that suffering. And then maybe look at it through that schizoid lens to try to figure it out, and then kind of adjust your therapy based on that. You need to be proactive. You need to be assertive about what you want, which is kind of hilarious to tell a schizoid to be assertive, because a lot of us tend to be passive. I am not passive, so I can't speak for me, but that is like, you have to do your best to not be passive in that situation. You need to be as assertive as you feel inside, like your opinions and your thoughts. You're like, no, I don't like that. That's not what I want to do. I want to do it like this. This will help me, because no one understands the schizoid better than the schizoid. All right, simple as that. We spend so much fucking time inside ourselves. You got to be assertive about your therapy and what works and what doesn't work for you, and they have to work around that. If they're not willing to work around that in any way, shape, or form, fuck them. That's a terrible therapist. That's not going to work for you. If they're willing to work around it, then you also have to be a little bit willing to like try different things. And if it's not working, you just tell them this isn't working, and you explain why, and maybe you can tweak it. Who knows, right? That's all it comes down to. But anyway, let's keep going. The American Psychiatric Association in 2000 reports that the prevalence in the general population of schizoid personality disorder in the general population is less than 1%. Yay, we're special. Other studies have found a community prevalence of 3.1 in the United States and a high prevalence in a substance abusing primary care and medical samples. In surveys with a more general focus on personality disorders, schizoid personality disorder is associated with childhood history that includes a lack of positive parenting, and is associated with alcohol and drug dependence, but not abuse, and with depression and anxiety disorders. Prototypic cases of SPD are rare and often blended with avoidant or schizotypal disorders. The literature is rich with descriptions of SPD. Eugen Buehler coined the term schizoid in 1908, describing persons with schizoid features as shut-in, suspicious, and comfortably dull. Comfortably dull. That's not comfortable a lot of the time. While simultaneously sensitive and in pursuit of vague purposes, frequently occurring in the pre-psychotic personality of schizophrenic illness. 1976. Buehler. I'm just going to call him Buehler. Buehler argued that ambivalence was a consequence of schizophrenic association disturbance, representing a tendency to experience contrasting feelings, intentions, and thoughts to situations, objects, or people, for example, experiencing love and hatred for the same person. In the 1920s, clinical investigation confirmed some kind of relationship between SPD and schizophrenia. Despite Buehler's and other focus on the ambivalence in SPD, the construct was not incorporated in the experimental and development psychopathology literature. Recent studies attempted to operationalize ambivalence and assess its relations to schizophrenia and schizotypy? Typa? I've never seen it spelled that way. Schizotypy. I like that. Sounds adorable. By the way, guys, if I get like a little tongue-tied, that's because I'm used to just reading in my head, and so reading aloud, which is not something I generally do, it's weird because like the speed in which I read in my mind is a lot faster than the speed in which I can read aloud. So like my brain has trouble kind of sometimes. My tongue has trouble keeping up with my brain. So then I get caught up on words that like I would normally not have to speak aloud, so then I wouldn't really care whether I'm pronouncing them in my head correctly or not. When I hear myself speaking, I feel like I have to go back and make sure I say it correctly. So it's a little neurotic when I read aloud. So whatever, that's neither here nor there. But for instance, a study by Wapil Man and Raulun, these fucking names, assessed psychometric properties and concurrent validity of schizotypal ambivalence scale. In 997 American college students, finding that high SAS scores were associated with schizoid as well as schizotypal and paranoid symptoms. The focus on the behavioral manifestations and diagnostic manuals does not incorporate emotional ambivalence as a core of schizoid construct. According to the International Classification of Diseases /10, SPD is characterized by emotional coldness, detachment of reduced affection, withdrawal from affectional, social, and sexual contacts, preference for fantasy, solitary activities, and introspection, limited capacity to express feelings and to experience pleasure, indifference to either praise or criticism, and to social norms and conventions. Yeah, we've heard all that before. The blah 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 blah. Okay, let's just talk diagnostic here. Okay, let's skip to treatment. Okay, treating schizoid personality disorder. Few clinical descriptions and even fewer researchers report have characterized treatment processes with schizoid patients. Psychotherapeutic treatment from both the patient's and the professional's point of view. Studies of personality disorder features and clinicians' emotional reactions to patients have generally found that odd eccentric disorder cluster A features do not elicit particular emotions reactions among staff members. While these null findings may suggest that clinicians are proficient in maintaining a professional attitude to schizoid patients, the absence of emotional reactions may also mirror what happens in the lives of schizoid patients more generally. Yup. Other people tend not to react to them or even notice them unless they are somehow forced to do so. Our observations for supervision of clinicians, our work with patients, and experiences from training clinicians and working with personality disorder patients suggest that may well be what takes place in treatment. As time goes by in the treatment process, clinicians tend to tire because of the lack of visible changes in schizoid patients. The clinicians lose interest in the treatment, which they find is not progressing. The patients, on the other hand, may value the therapeutic relationship far more than the clinician realizes, and may even benefit from the treatment in ways that the clinician may miss altogether or disregard as insignificant. That's super important to talk about right there, because there's this kind of shut-in when it comes to your emotional connects and expressing them. So even if you are making progress, you're only making progress in here and to yourself. You're not making any progress that anybody else can necessarily see. It might eventually translate into something other people could see, but initially it probably won't. And so because the stuff can take a long time for it to settle in and for you to process in any significant capacity, you end up doing most of the therapy for yourself. But it's the interacting with the external world, hence the therapists themselves, is what allows you to do things internally that you may not otherwise be able to do by yourself. I think that's like the key element there when it comes to therapy for the schizoid. Let me look at the chat a little bit. Schizophrenia is seeing things at the quantum level. Steve, Skizzy Tizzy. I'm schizotypal. Steve Thacker, haven't moved to schizophrenia yet. Let's keep it in schizotypal, man. It makes it probably a little bit easier. Because, maybe you're less likely to get people on your case or something. At Steve, out of curiosity and lack of knowledge, is it a given or you'll eventually move to schizophrenia or more possibility? Spitting facts, man. I'm trying to spit some fucking facts. While the world spits on my face. Yes. No, I'm just kidding. It's gross. How's the music doing? By the way, I'm listening to something called The Bloody Crimson Void, Winter Melody, 2018. The Bloody Crimson Void. Creative Commons, so I'm allowed. To continue, if anybody has any thoughts on anything I've read so far, just drop it in the chat and, and at me or something, at Schizoid Angst or some shit. That way I can check it out. I don't think anybody's watching. I'm checking the Twitch, and no, nobody's saying shit on Twitch, so I think we're good. As time goes by, the treatment process clinicians... where am I? The patients, on the other hand, may value... Okay, yeah. In our experience, schizoid patients may a poor match with treatment offers that are very goal-oriented, short-term, and focused on obtaining an atmosphere conducive to change. The short-term treatments focus on changing symptoms rapidly, and some of them are very effective at obtaining this objective. However, these treatments tend to disregard change at a more fundamental level. If anything, rapid changes rarely occur in truly schizoid patients, since very fundamental issues are at stake in the treatment of such patients. Indeed, many patients with schizoid personality have very little motivation for symptomatic change, and their main concern is whether or not they will even be able to to cope with being close up and personal with the psychotherapist. I've heard that story many times. That becomes a primary concern instead of the actual therapy you're going for. Considering the therapeutic alliance a difficult task. At one level, the patients can be surprisingly compliant and rarely miss an appointment with the therapist over long stretches of time. At another, they are often what they want with the treatment or to define specific goals that they wish to achieve. That's what we need to overcome, guys. You got to figure out how to be able to say this shit. And I get that, like, you can't, obviously you can't describe the feelings themselves, but try to think of some of the negative symptoms, right? Some of the shit that sucks. Just say, oh, I get this feeling, and I think it's this, and I think it's this, and I want to try to work it out to figure out what it is so that I can kind of become more in touch with that, whatever that bullshit is, so that I can kind of get past it so I don't feel so shitty all the time. That'd be cool. Like, just say it like that if you have to. Whatever. And then just try some experiments with the fucking psychologist until, something works out. Maybe some of that shit starts, dissipating a little bit. And once you do that, then you can start experimenting with things like extending emotional range and, other sorts of more difficult things, because you get some of the barriers out of the way. So work on it. You gotta really focus it in on, because if you get the diagnosis first, then it gives your therapist or psychologist or whatever a better opportunity on how to approach you. If they diagnose you schizoid and they still keep trying to do therapy like in a non-schizoid like sort of framework or a way of helping, fuck that. That's not gonna really work too well. You have to tell them, like, hey, this is how I function. This is what works for me. Please work with me, because if you want to just do whatever you want to do, it's not gonna be good. It's not gonna do much for me. At least I don't think so. But sometimes you have to experiment. Sometimes you have to try different things. Like, for example, I did EMDR. I didn't really care about EMDR. I put it off a bunch of times. I wasn't interested in EMDR, right? It wasn't until, many sessions later with my psychologist that I was like, okay, you know what? Let's try this EMDR thing. Okay, fuck it. What do I have to lose? Because, like, she's already helped me make a significant amount of progress. And she was, treating me in a way that was, comforting. I felt understood to the degree that she could understand me, or at least, I could tell she's attempting to understand, and wasn't pushing me or intruding upon me and my personal thoughts. I was just sharing, and she was only taking in whatever I shared. And if I didn't share anything else, she wouldn't pry. That's how it worked for me. And eventually I said, okay, let's try this EMDR thing. I tried it. I got some really interesting stuff out of it. It worked a lot faster on me than she says it generally does work with people. But that's probably because I knew what I was kind of looking for, and I wasn't afraid of looking into the less fun shit about my past. So I was able to kind of just look stuff in the, straight in the face and come to terms with it and go, okay, that makes me feel like shit, but at least, like, the initial approaching of it is not difficult. It's when it starts to sink in that it's like, oh, I feel like dying. But, whatever. That's just part of the process. Emotionally, they do not communicate with their clinicians, rarely showing their emotions, such as grief, anger, fear, frustration. Anger, I do just fine. Happiness or motivation. Their body language and facial expression does not show what they feel, and even when they talk about events that would normally elicit a reaction in most people, such as very traumatic childhood events, they tend to appear indifferent to the events. They report and talk about it in a casual way. See, that's important too for the psychologist to understand. That's part of our cope, man. Like, we'll talk about shit that's totally fucked that happened to us and just be like the fucking emoji, just, what are you gonna do? So, and we'll make jokes about it and stuff, and that's how we cope. And deep somewhere in the recesses of our mind, this shit sucks and we're hurting a lot maybe, but we don't really feel it because that's how we deal. But nonetheless, the point of the therapy is to be able to feel the things or understand the feelings that are making your stomach hurt and making your chest tight. To actually understand the feelings on a cognitive level, so that you can manage them in a more appropriate way that's helpful to your ability to have positive feelings. Unfortunately, you kind of have to deal and feel the negative feelings before you can start really getting the positive feelings. You have to kind of Do away with some of the numbness within your control. Within your control. That's the whole point. With what you're comfortable and safe with. You do away with some of the numbness over time via, you know, talking and experimentation and so on, and your own internal processes and thinking about what was interacted with, what was brought up, and so on and so forth. You know, it's rough. It's rough, but it's doable. It's doable. It's not an impossible thing. And look, I'm trying to make this thing so that we have people you can talk to. And I have the server. If you're schizoid and you need to talk to other people that are schizoid, go to the Schizoid Zoid Void. It's in Discord. I have a link in the About Me. Go there. Go talk to people like you. Talk to people here in chat. Whatever you're comfortable with. Okay? It's just, I think it's a good way to go. It's helping a significant amount of people so far, it seems. So, let's see if we can keep that going. Taito said, I had to stop seeing my second psych because I accidentally turned myself into her. Oh, fuck. That sucks when that happens. Therapist, and we always ended up focusing on her life in each session. Fuck. That super sucks, man. I'm sorry to hear that, Taito. I could see that happening, man. I could see that happening. Yeah, because you don't want to do you, so you end up doing someone else. Hilarious. That mimic process, that mimic shit, I did it for like a good portion of my life. It's just mimicry. Like everything was mimicry, everything. Like I would turn into other people because I didn't have anything to turn into if I didn't turn into other people. Like, so I would just replicate whatever personality type is in front of me. It's like a fucking, if I could think of any Pokemon that's schizoid, it's like the fucking Ditto, man. We're like Dittos, but with a consistent meh face. We're non-smiling Dittos. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Anyway, let's see here. Where was I? Furthermore, many of the patients appear very ambivalent in the way they participate in the treatment. Emotionally, they do not communicate with the clinicians, rarely showing their emotions such as grief, anger, frustration, happiness. Oh yeah, I already said that. Casual way. Okay, yeah. So the casual stuff, man. I talked about getting diddled. I talked about all kinds of traumatic stuff. And what sucks is when I would try to talk to, say, like my wife about it, like people don't take that. Like normal people don't really like, or people that are in schizoids, they're not going to hear you say like, oh yeah, and then you know, so and so touched my butt. Like they're not going to go like, oh my. They're going to be like, oh my god, that's horrible. Oh, how can you? Oh, right. And you're just like, oh, what? I just said it. Like. I don't feel it. I don't know. I just shared because you asked, and then because people react like, how are you not falling apart over this? Like you just feel stupid, and you just like it makes you feel even more disconnected, and alienated because you're just like, oh, how was I supposed to feel like that? Cool. Thanks for reminding me how I don't feel things. Very cool. Super fun. Taito, definitely agree with that. The only way I can really survive is by dittoing myself to fit other peeps. Covert Schizoid 101. Yeah, boo boo. Fucking the Dittozoid. Fucking put a little ditto in the corner over here. I should. Here, hold on. You know what? I have the power. I have the power to do this. So I'm gonna do it. Let's see if it'll work. Ditto. If I can get a ditto. I'm gonna put that little fucker right there. Why not? Where's there like a sad ditto? I want a sad ditto. Oh, here we go. There we go. I like this one. This one's kind of adorable. I'll go with this one. We're gonna go with this one. Hold on 1 second. Let's get that ditto. Where's my ditto? I can't find my ditto. Why am I bad at everything? There. No, that's not it. That's it? Yeah, that's it. There it is. There's ditto. Let's do this. Ditto. That's us. That's a lot of us. The Ditto, the Schizoid Pokemon. Oh shit, I can move the whole thing. That's awesome. Alright, anyway, let's keep going. Methods. Qualitative data can give an in-depth understanding of what has been called the patient's morbid subjectivity. Rather than splitting the research problem into isolated variables, qualitative data allows the researcher to construct a holistic transpersonal account of the psychopathological processes and the therapeutic interventions. Thereby, qualitative data allow an integrated understanding of the treatment process as a whole, encompassing how the psychopathological processes and the therapeutic relationship interacts. Processes, whatever, fuck you. Especially important in this context is the use of multiple perspectives on treatment. Each participant's unique experience contributes to a fuller understanding of the treatment process. The case study is taken from the larger study conducted by both authors in an outpatient treatment offered to psychiatric and dual-diagnosed patients in Odsherred, Zealand, Denmark. The first author did not participate in the treatment of interventions and did not engage in supervision feedback with the staff. The treatment model is open dialogue, a family and network-oriented approach in treating psychosis, schizophrenia, and other severe psychiatric crises, which has demonstrated utility and effectiveness in outcome studies, especially in the treatment of psychotic crisis. Focus is primarily on supporting change by means of reflective interactions, dialogue among patients, family, and significant others, and a case-specific treatment team. Oh, okay. An OD and auto-shared. The team consists of 2 to 4 professionals from social, district, and general psychiatry. The OD intervention takes place at treatment meetings with a case-specific team, and services may be integrated into the intervention if needed. The dialogical approach operates within the social constructionist framework with integration of different psychotherapeutic traditions and elements, aiming at construction of a joint dialogue with the participants in the treatment meetings to generate a new understanding of the presented problems. A primary aim of the dialogical exchange is to construct a caring personal community. For the new meanings to emerge, the professionals must exercise emotional attunement in the reflective dialogue and allow the therapeutic process to be slow in order to provide for the rhythm and the style of each participant's speech. Very good. And to ensure that each person has created in which he or she is invited and supported to have his or her say. Okay, I don't know much about this OD method, or what did they call it? They're just going to OD. Open dialogue method. I've heard it before, but I've never seen it. I've never read anyone break it down too well, and I probably should have by now. We changed some details of the case to ensure patient anonymity. Fred and the treatment professionals have full consent to use all data collected in the study, blah, 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 blah. Alright, we use the 10-item personality inventory to assess the patient's personality dimensions. The TIPI questionnaire is based on the Big 5 personality model. Ooh, let's take one of those. Maybe I'll have time. Let's copy that. Let's copy that. Let's do this. Maybe there's a good one I can take. Okay, so it's always good to read, guys. Whenever you're looking at psychological stuff for like schizoid stuff, it's good to look at the methods before you look at, like, you know, jump straight to like the results and everything, because the methods are like, you could read through it and go, yeah, that definitely wouldn't work, or that's probably a bad idea, or that's gonna have this or that problem, you know. And so then it could kind of you know, help you see why you might have gotten the results that you did if you're schizoid and you understand, you know, how you might react in a similar situation. Taito, that does it, you crazy son of a bitch. I'm boosting the server in gratitude. Thanks, man. Also, it's a 1 hour mark, so I might as well do it. Hey guys, if you're listening to this, whether it's a recording or not, and you think this is useful or whatever have you, give me your fucking money. So go to Patreon and support me there. Money helps me keep going and do this more, so I can convince the world around me that this is this could eventually turn into some kind of part-time gig, in which, you know, whatever, and so on and so forth. Trust me, man. Like, I'll move to another state with a lower cost of living or something, just so I can do this more. one day. But in any case, I also have PayPal. I also take Bitcoin. It's like in the description, and Litecoin or whatever the fuck else. Go to the server if you're schizoid. Try it out. See if you like it. It's an in and out thing. So if you like it and then you're like, oh, but I don't know, and then you leave and then you want to come back later, I'm not going to be a dick and not let you in. I'll still let you in. Just remind, the staff, the mods and stuff that you've been there before, and we could see anyway that you probably have been, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's chill. It's chill there. You can talk about whatever. Just basic TOS shit, and be civil. Don't be crazy. I don't need fucking trolls and bullshit. And I thought this was a skit. That's like the worst shit I always hear, man. I thought this was a schizoid server. How come I can't just drop N-bombs all day and post nudes and and advocate for gross shit that's illegal. I thought you guys were schizoid. You're not real schizoids. You give a shit about something. Alright, man. Just because we have ethics doesn't mean we have emotional connection to some sense of like individual morality or something. So it's a little different, folks. What do you mean I can't wear my fedora? I'm a schizoid. Yeah, that's right, Taito. For real, man. For fucking real. Alright. Continuing on. Thanks a lot, guys. I'm actually, this is helping me a little bit. Just talking to you guys. And, I don't know. Just knowing that I'm talking to my peeps. My people I don't have to explain myself to is pretty cool. Anyway, enough bushy bullshit. Let's keep going. Let's see here, what was it? Case description. Oh yeah, I already said. For the past 20 years, he has smoked regularly throughout the day, smoking 2 pipes of hashish in the morning before leaving his house. He supplements the hash with fluctuating beer intake. During the first interview, he reports that he suffers from anxiety and depression. Although the paranoid delusions may be present, from a clinical perspective, we suggest that Fred is an excellent model of how a patient with schizoid personality interacts with clinicians. If he were to abstain from cannabis for a lengthy period of time, he might change in a number of ways. We do not focus the following on whether Fred is truly a schizoid patient, but on the schizoid features showing in which way of interacting with the staff members. That's interesting. Both Fred's and staff members' descriptions of him involve personality traits that encompass nearly all the ICD-10 DSM-4 criteria for schizoid personality disorder. He comes across as friendly and mild person, and one professional describes him as a warm teddy bear. But Fred displays a marked level of detachment and restrictive affect when telling about his life situation, problems, and treatment process in the interviews. Even when he talks about his anxieties, his appearance is remarkably neutral. He describes uneasiness with the social situations and clearly has a limited capacity to express either positive or negative feelings towards others. Fred also tells that he has no conflicts with other people besides the people he occasionally drinks with at the local pub and the people who he meets at his visits at the DIC. He has one friend, a neighbor. Fred is liked by his family, has regular contact with his mother and father, whom he visits regularly and who provide him material and emotional support. Fred does not mention any close relationships with whom he shares intimate thoughts, feelings, or sexuality. His life is for a large part solitary, either drawing, reading, or daydreaming in a parallel fantasy world. See, why did they say that? Like, what is this? I get upset. What? Okay, let me stop for a second. I'm gonna tag this. Okay, guys, listen to me. Guys, whoever's listening, write in chat something. Okay. Am I just unlucky here? Like, do you guys get to have some cool fucking cool fantasy world with like all kinds of neat shit that you can just like close your eyes and it's like Dungeons and Dragons, like fucking astral projection? Like, I don't have this. How do I get this? Do you guys have that? You guys, because they always say that about schizoids have these internal fantasies or fucking, and I'm like, I get, to me, the way I interpret that, and maybe I'm wrong, is we create delusions in association with our external world because we internalize it in a way that suits us, and so thus we create like these kind of delusions and fanciful thoughts about the world around us that allow us to cope with it and be less bored by it, or kind of lets us intellectualize things and so on and so forth. Oh, Steve, I already know you get to astrally project. You've told me you're telepathic and shit, so you're an exception. I'm talking about the regular schizoid that doesn't have cool powers. how do I like this whole like vast internal world of fantasy and like that they always describe. Like, man, I can't do that D&D Pathfinder shit in my brain. All I can do is like sit down and really like focus on my stuff I like in fiction and get stuck on a project or something. I can sit there imagining or world building, but I don't just like zone out, like vegetative state, and just like go like, I'm gonna go to my fantasy world. Like that doesn't. I don't do that. Like that doesn't. Just like that'd be awesome. Oh, Titus says, I fucking wish the most I get is that floaty feeling you get right before you drift off to sleep. Names are whack. For a long time, I thought the fantasy world that people mentioned was like the D&D like thing and got confused. But after reading more resources, I get that it isn't actually this. Yeah, I know. I know it's not actually that. But they always describe it like that, right? I understand that in actuality, I think what they're trying to say is that we construct this kind of, according to them, fantasy world version of our external reality so that we can cope with having a reality or social reality that is utterly boring and unable to fucking like entertain us in any significant or motivate us in any significant capacity. So then we have to create all these mental constructs about our external reality to keep us going. Taito, thank you for that, man. Gotta bounce, y'all. Disassociates. Later. Wouldn't it be cool if I disassociated like IRL and like just like my opacity increased? Just like let me disassociate real quick. Hold on, give me a sec. I can do this, guys. Let me really. I'm not making fun of people that disassociate. That shit sucks. I've had it with panic attacks and anxiety. I've disassociated and derealized before, but let's have a fucking laugh. I'm gonna fucking disassociate right now, guys. Give me 1 second here. Here I go. Disassociating. I'm disassociating, guys. I'm disassociating, guys. Guys, I'm disassociating. Ah! I'm losing it, folks. I'm blending into the ether. I'm blending it. Oh, look, I'm coming back. I'm coming back, guys. I'm coming back. I'm back. Woo. Whoa, man. I just disassociated the shit out of myself for a second there. Woo. Back. Went into my fantasy worlds. Hey, if anybody want to clip that, or because I'm having somebody that wants to, what is it? Timestamp shit. Timestamp my disassociation moment. Schizoid Angst disassociates live on camera. That's gonna be my. I should make that my clickbait thumbnail, right? And I'm just gonna have a bunch of people all mad at me that have issues with their disassociation that aren't schizoid, and they're gonna be like really emotionally bothered by me making a joke out of it. But hey, that's how I cope. So fuck you, man. That's how I deal. Okay. I know what stuff like that feels like. I don't disassociate a lot, but I used to a lot more. And that shit sucks. And it's horrible. I get it. But man, all I can do is laugh. That's all I can do. Anyway. Let's, welcome to the Twilight Zone. Right? Okay. However, Fred has a covert desire to be able to engage in closer relations. He feels lonely, but cannot do anything about the loneliness due to the schizoid disorder. Thus, his communication is a strange mixture of longing for closeness and social indifference. Yeah, that's my life. Let's see here. Fred's rating in the 10-item personality inventory show that he sees himself as an extremely introverted person who feels responsible and thorough, displays less openness to experiences than most patients in the larger study sample, and has difficulties trusting others. Yeah, I think when you fucking feel like you're traveling through an alien fucking world, of course you're gonna have trouble trusting others, or whatever the hell you want to call it. Yeah, you're gonna have some issues with that one, to say the least. All right, okay. Treatment process. Fred began participant in OD treatment. I just like that it's OD treatment. Just like, just plug it in, guys. I gotta get this OD treatment started. In 2005, at the suggestion of a social worker affiliated with OD treatment and working at the local drop-in center that Fred visited. The case-specific team consisted of 2 professionals from Project OD and Otter Sherrod, who already knew Fred, the social worker from DIC, nurse who had blah, 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 blah. First interview to blah, 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 blah. Okay, here, I want to read what Fred says during the interview. I find it very tense because it is now and here because we are on. How can you put it? It's also nice to know that there are some people who are interested in you and who want to try help. I find it warms my heart. I don't know what to say. I find it constructive and good. I am not used to being among people, especially not when I am at the center. I have also seen the small one in the group. I am so awfully insecure, excerpt from first interview. It's interesting. Oh yeah, becoming healthier with few entertaining thoughts. Fred said he found them very useful for shedding light on his problems, that they made him feel safe and calm. His thoughts became healthier with fewer interfering thoughts, and his delusions were kind of put in place. Still, the treatment setup involving through. Okay, I'll see here. Despite these difficulties, Fred attended the OD meetings, and because he found them helpful and explained that he considered his daily actions more constructively, for example, decreasing his hash and beer intake 2 to 3 times a day after the meeting. He told how meetings increased his demands on himself and gave him hope and taste for life. The demands that Fred finds he put on himself are more troublesome than good, but somehow I don't think you should refrain from thinking and considering that you want from life. I think the meetings kind of encourage a positive outlook on life and not only think black all the time, because somewhere there is also a desire for hope, for an improvement of self-development somehow. I have 3 tools, actually. 3 persons I can work with, or they can work with me. Ah, very good. 3 tools. See, that is another thing. That is another thing we need to talk about. Yes, I'm going to do the clap thing. By the way, real talk, I definitely zone out a lot, but I'm not like dipping my feet in Narnia or anything when I'm gone. Yeah, for real, just gone. Okay, this is fucking important. Listen. The staff, the medical staff dealing with a schizoid need to understand that there generally is a certain level of transference or whatever, but they need to be okay with being treated like objects by the schizoid. Not like, like bad, like, they're human beings, whatever. I get it, like ethically and all that. But like as tools for them to use to improve themselves. You are not there to improve them. They are there to improve themselves, and they will use you to do so. That seems to be the only way the schizoid, I find, can really work with their treatment. So there will probably be very little transference or connection to the other person. You don't need it. We don't need it to get help, right? Maybe eventually it'll occur organically because of the sessions going on, and maybe eventually there will be some kind of transference after like a year of therapy or something, or maybe less. I don't know, 6 months, once a week or something. But point is that might happen organically. It might not, but going into it, man, you can't expect any of that as the therapist. Fuck no. You're just tools. And if you let us treat you like tools during the treatment session and acknowledge it and help us feel like it's okay for us to see you that way, that you're not like gonna, reject helping us or like discard us in some way or lose interest because we're not like emotionally connecting to my therapist, then that helps a fuck ton. And that's what my psychologist helped me do. I told her I just see you as a tool to help improve my situation. After months and months of therapy with her, I now can see her more as a person, and less as a tool, like, as like a service. And I can see her as a person more, and I can kind of connect a little tiny bit. And that's cool. I mean, it's very limited, but that's good enough for me, right? It's good enough for me, I don't need all this transference shit. Like, I don't need too much of that. Good, that's a good level. Good. Anyway, let's keep going. Fred finds a discussion of behavioral change and goals difficult. We talk much about what I should go on walks on Thursday and so on. It's easier for them because they are living life. I stopped my life in 1985. I was born a year before that, so fun. I think it's great. It's also part of what I have to learn concerning about how the meetings work. how you actually communicate with others, and so on. It's an incredibly big challenge because I also get more confident meeting others in that way. I am not one who kind of engage in conversations. Why did treatment end? Okay. The meeting's OD team and Fred ended after 4 sessions, and Fred returned to social psychiatric care. In the second interview conducted 3 months after the treatment termination, Fred said he did not know why the meeting stopped. He believed the termination was caused in part by the team assigning him low priority compared to other more urgent work assignments, and referred to difficulty in scheduling meetings. All could attend to meetings cancellations. Fred wondered if treatment termination might have to do with him not showing enough results, even though the meetings had great value to him. They might have felt that it didn't go anywhere, but I haven't talked with them about it. I would really like to hear why they also gave up. I tried to be bloody serious. Oh, he's British? Oh, man, I should have been doing an accent the whole time. I'm kidding. But I could do it. It gave me well-being because we talked crossways, so I actually lived several days without smoking cannabis, blah, blah, blah. It gave me peace of mind. The team members explained the termination was partly lack of the prioritizing the meetings with Fred and partly with difficulties attending the scheduled meetings. One team member described an incident in which Fred chose to go shopping instead of attending a specific meeting and of a fellow team member's loss of motivation in the project. He also describes how lack of positive change in Fred led to his own loss of motivation. The engagement kind of goes when you find out that you can't move him an inch. He didn't get anything out of the meetings except for getting 2 hours of extra attention every fortnight. He could use us for many hours every day, but when it suited him. And we can't give him that with our work burden these days. It was a pity. We should have ended it properly and told Fred what happened. And somehow, I think it doesn't matter anymore. But there is no doubt that Fred is left with some frustrations. You think? Thus, 2 different problems with Fred emerged. He did not appear to benefit sufficiently, and he was not able to make the staff members feel that his problems were sufficiently urgent to warrant their help. Yeah, till you fucking... I'm not going to say it because I'm on the live stream. The other team member wondered whether the fact that the meetings took place every second weekend was too sparse for Fred. Also, the team member described how all 3 professionals wanted to engage themselves in their intervention, but that the lack of openness between Fred and the team members concerning treatment focus caused the meetings to fade out. It kind of faded out, the official agenda, and probably was that he wanted to be more social and get out more, and in any case begin with the DIC more often. Implicitly, it also meant that he could get out without using substances. There were cancellations partly from him and X, and I think also from Y, and then it became like too much time has passed. I think we cancel more than Fred when it comes down to it. The will and desire was present and all. Well, I probably had Fred's substance abuse in the back of my head, and Fred didn't see it as a substance abuse. I don't think we mentioned substance abuse at any time. In this case, it seems as if the team members did not perceive Fred's problems as critical and urgent enough to prioritize continuation of the OD meetings, partly because Fred did not make his needs clear. It also seemed as if the lack of mutual understanding and agreement on treatment focus had an impact on the team members engaged in treatment. Life after treatment. How did the experience of starting and ending OD meetings leave Fred and the staff members? In the second interview, Fred described his lifestyle. I'm just hanging in the same grind as always. Well, that grind I have, it also consists of comfort and enjoying life, and that is probably why I return to it, but it doesn't mean I get to meet other people. It doesn't not create openness to other people that grind. I like how he describes grind. I do go to the drop-in center to eat, but a week can pass before I go there. Then I see how people treat others in ways that are very different compared to the local pub. And for togetherness, there are more benefits in the DIC than in cafe and pub environment, but now I know them there. And it's easier to get contact with that group rather than coming over there. And just to be alone and say hi. It is clear that his return to his former lifestyle presents mixed emotions in Fred. Even though the grind represents a safe and comfort zone, he also finds it leaves him in a socially isolated position. In this interview, Fred clearly states a desire and motivation for changing his substance use. Now nothing came of detoxification. I didn't get that far. I had contemplated on the least reducing my needs because sometimes I think that smoking cannabis is just a compulsive idea for me. A team member described changes in the way that he related to Fred after participating in OD meetings. I am probably more open toward him. If I find he has messed up, I confront him. I have probably become more tough and said, you must also learn to take responsibility, right where he often just places the responsibility with me. He wants to stop drinking. If he wants to go out for a walk, I will support him, but he has to take it on himself. Another team member remarked that while Fred's social situation showed no changes, Fred seemed to participate more frequently in larger family gatherings. He also found that Fred's overall function had worsened, taking a more accepting stance towards Fred. He also wonders whether the termination of treatment has affected Fred negatively. He smokes more cannabis and he also drinks more. He is more clouded in his talk. He is more quiet. It's harder for him to get up in the mornings. Physically, he is more enfeebled. I can't get him out for a ride. It can be difficult to get him going, as in getting a smile and some facial expression. He doesn't want to open up, and then you shouldn't try. So it gets more like accepting him. Maybe it has actually been negative, because there was a letdown from our side. I talked with him about it when it happened, and that it didn't really amount to anything. But it probably had more to do with me trying to pour oil on troubled waters and excuse it somehow. Man, that's rough, dude. Poor Fred. It's too relatable. I'm gonna kind of looking through this because I can't read everything. How much time am I going? It's only an hour. I was hoping to just do an hour and a half here. Hold on a second here. Names are whack. When I found out that people are supposed to connect to therapists, I got shocked. I thought this was the past of work boundary and should exist between therapist and patient, right? That's all I thought. Just chime in here. Yikes on that one therapist who just said, fuck Fred, but politely. Yeah. Fuck you, Fred. But I think it's helping. Nah, fuck you, Fred. Oh, can I just keep using you guys? Nah, Fred, fuck you. Well, we're done with you. You're boring. Oh, please don't leave. I'm not going to say that, but I'm going to think it. Yeah, too bad, Fred. It's going to be like my schizoid, what do you call it? Straw man, or my schizoid punching bag over here, the ditto. Oh. Yeah, no joke, huh? Fuck Fred. That sucks, man. No, I mean, not fuck Fred. I'm saying, like, it feels like they just told him, hey Fred, you're not interesting enough, and we don't feel like we're doing enough progress here, so go kick rocks, Fred, even though later he obviously wasn't doing too great. Discussions. The difference in Fred's and team members' descriptions of what took place in treatment are highly typical of some of the challenges that we have come across when treating patients with SPD or when supervising others. The following discussion will focus on how problems in the treatment schizoid patient may be understood based on the concept of treatment alliance as coined by Borden and countertransference in the psychodynamic tradition. That's the problem, too, is that a lot of these expectations the therapist has in regards to how they believe that they're making progress, and when it doesn't align with what generally happens when dealing with a schizoid, they just think they're not making any progress. It's so fucked. Treatment alliance and SPD. The concept of the treatment alliance is widely recognized as common and important dimension of psychotherapeutic work. Borden describes the working alliance as a cooperation between the person who seeks change and the one who offers to be changed agent. He presents three interdependent components in the working alliance: agreement on goals, agreement on therapeutic tasks, and the equality of interpersonal bond. The components are interactive, dyadic, and therefore likely to evoke ambivalence in the schizoid patient. The ambivalence may be felt or expressed openly in treatment, but is usually, as in Fred's case, more likely hidden from the therapist. The development of the interpersonal collaborative bond with the therapist is a key challenge to both the patient and the therapist. Often the patient does not have the ability to express and contrast feelings, and the therapist may perceive the patient as emotionally detached and the treatment relationship as either non-existing or lacking patient engagement. Attaining an agreement between the patient, SPD, and the therapist can meet obstacles caused by the patient's ambivalence regarding lifestyle changes that challenge existing comfort zones. The patient's difficulties in expressing specific treatment goals may cause confusion in both the patient and the therapist, and impede the collaborative effort required when formulating treatment objectives. The patient does not have any complaints to start with, even if he has numerous problems. Following Akhtar, he suggested having concerns, complaints, or problems as part of the covert side of the patient with schizoid personality. Obtaining an agreement on specific therapeutic tasks and treatment can be as difficult as formulating therapeutic goals. To attain the goals, the patient and the therapist must obtain an overall agreement on behaviors and cognitions that form the substance of the therapeutic process. Agreeing on a topic and devising a strategy for dealing with this topic is often a great challenge for patients who have SPD. Even in minute-to-minute interactions with therapists, the patients may drift from the topic to be very difficult to communicate with, especially when the therapist tries to engage the patient in exploration or problem solving. Yeah, tell me about that. Like, yeah, there was a bunch of times with my therapist, but like, we'd have an hour session, and I would like use up about half an hour to that to start talking like theoretical concepts and ideas, and drift off into fucking space and shit, like conversation wise. And then I'd be like, I'd have to catch myself and go, well, what the fuck? This isn't therapy. This is just me talking about whatever bullshit's on my mind. But she was good. The reason she was good is because she would get like whatever weird concepts I would weave into the conversation regarding my therapy, and she would help me kind of like link them back into the therapy. Like she kind of segue it in. It's pretty interesting. She had a very good talent at that, and that kind of worked for me incredibly well. But Fred, what about me, your therapist? All right. What about me? I'm bored. This is boring. That's how it feels, right? Your therapist is just like, this is stupid. You're not even saying stuff. You're not making me feel good about myself giving you therapy because I'm not seeing results that make my hard. Make my pee-pee. I need you to make my pee-pee hard so that I can continue therapy with you. That's how it feels, right? Like, based on reading this. And it's like, it sucks because, like, it's not necessarily their fault because they're expecting to see certain results because it generally works with a variety of, PDs and other issues that are kind of, like, more apparent. But when you're talking SPD, it's like, oh, they're not doing anything. Negative or positive. They're just sitting there. And saying things, but being very kind of calm and indifferent about a lot of stuff. But yeah, anyway, I think we're almost done with this. Let's see here. Let's skip ahead. Countertransference and SPD. Yep, we already know the problems with that. Concerns in the treatment of patients with schizoid disorder. This article discusses how therapeutic focuses on the ambivalence, the construct of the schizoid disorder might be useful in treating patients with SPD. According to Lysaker, and colleagues in psychotherapeutic treatment offer opportunities for the patient to engage in dialogues and support the patient's capacities to form, recognize, and challenge understanding of themselves and others, possibly spurring growth in those abilities. Hold on one second, guys. I'm just going to text something. All right. When treating patients with SPD, the question... Okay. A therapeutic focus on the ambivalence may affect the treatment alliance and cause this distancing countertransference. Reactions of the professional might prove useful in understanding what takes place in the treatment, how the professional are able to support the patient and engage the treatment process. Discussing some of the therapeutic challenges when treating patients with SPD leads to the next question. What are the practical guidelines for the engaging in schizoid patient in the treatment process? Although the books have been written on the treatment of personality disorders, clinical guidelines on how to approach the patient with SPD are sparse. Building a therapeutic relationship with the schizoid patient requires respect for the patient's need for emotional space and time to develop trust in the therapist. Adequate treatment of patients with schizoid personality disorder involve balancing between temptations to abandon the patient or to control him. Neither one of those is good. The chance of establishing a good treatment relationship with the schizoid patient is enhanced if the therapist is fascinated with the patient's world and allows himself to get involved in the process of working with the patient. Ooh, we start getting into that field theory action, right? Even if treatment... to try to figure out what their world is. Even if treatment needs and length of therapy may alter, initial treatment sessions benefit from a rational, confrontational treatment approach. Such an approach creates the emotional space and distance needed to avert the patient's feelings interpersonally crowded or anxious. In the beginning of a treatment, it may be helpful to increase the patient's awareness of how the schizoid personality features may cause him problems in his life. This might be accomplished with simple questions related to the diagnostic criteria in such a way that is done in a semi-constructed diagnostic interview. Do you have close friends or family? If yes, with whom? If no, does it bother you? Do you wish you had closer relations with others? Some people prefer to spend time alone. Others prefer to be with people. How would you describe yourself? Do you frequently choose to do things by yourself? Do you confide in anyone who is not in your immediate family? How do you react when someone criticizes you? How do you react when someone compliments you? Additionally, professionals should consider their own reactions. We recommend that clinicians working with patients who are socially isolated regularly ask themselves these questions, which we find are useful in identifying countertransference reactions to schizoid patients. Do I feel like my patient is not improving, even though he or she appears to be content with treatment? Do I consider cancelling appointments with my socially isolated patient, thinking it won't hurt him or her? Do I think of the patient as lacking in motivation, even though he or she rarely cancels or misses appointments? Do I find myself wondering if this patient has any problems at all, even in spite of clear evidence that he does? Treating the patient with schizoid disorder according to the patient's range of psychotic symptoms is also critical. The assessment of the symptoms can be made by the therapist addressing the psychotic processes, for example, by establishing whether the patient has hallucinations or delusions, paying attention to the presence, absence, or disordered thinking, that evaluating the patient's capacity to distinguish ideas from actions. Adequate treatment may involve more than the diet-dick relationship. Often, others also involved with the patient. Here, it can also be helpful to educate the significant others how schizoid personality features may cause interpersonal problems. And increasing understanding of SPD may result in others having a better understanding of and more respect for the patient's need for solitude and distance, and may result in less distress in all parties. In our experience, educating social workers and nurses about the nature of patients with SPD has been very helpful in assuring that they maintain an adequate balance between control and abandonment. It is crucial that those involved in the care of a schizoid patient are able to accept the patient's lack of communication and need to withdraw without resigning from treatment. Couldn't have been worded better. Could not have been worded better. Therapists should ask themselves, does my patient suck? Yeah. I like this. I like this article. I like how it's tackling, and I like the approach it's taking when it comes to like how to actually deal with schizoid patients, because that's not what's happening usually. That's not really the stuff you read usually. You just see prognosis typically poor, right? But it's nice to read this. It's actually cool to see this, and I like the results. I like the suggestions they're making. I like the stuff they're looking at, and so on and so forth. It's good. It's good. It's just something to talk about. Strangely, nobody got on today, which is fucking weird. I think everyone's busy with something else, I'm guessing. But, man, nobody got on today. Let me see here. What do I got? Oh, I'm just looking at some other chat stuff. My Discord chats. Trying to see what's going on with that. So, what do you guys think of this article? What do you think of the conclusions we came to? Do you think this is something useful? Should Fred get fucked? Or should Fred get the help he deserves? No, but seriously though, what are your thoughts on this article? What are your thoughts on what could have been improved, or maybe their opinions and the conclusions they came to? I like the conclusions they came to, which is, oh yeah, we have to be patient with these people and find a balance between abandoning them and attempting to control them or be too intrusive, because that's going to make them abandon you. So you need to you kind of have to tiptoe that line. And also, this is okay. Tell me if you guys think this is a good idea. Okay, would it not be useful to, if you encounter a schizoid patient and you suspect they're a schizoid patient, wouldn't it be useful to talk about the meta aspects of what is occurring within the therapy itself? Like, to discuss with them, hey, I notice you don't react to things like this, and I notice that you don't do much of this kind of connecting stuff, and I notice this is a bit different than when I work with my other patients. It leads me to believe perhaps it has something to do with this, and let's talk about what functions for you and what doesn't, and so on and so forth. That might be fucking useful. Taito, in all seriousness, I do like it. Maybe some of the aspects sound a bit outdated to me, but the concept of, hey, we promise schizoids don't hate you is nice. Hey, we promise they're not that boring. You just gotta like fucking work with them. Jesus Christ. Right? It's just, man. You know? But Steve, there should be millions watching this. They don't see it as a problem, so they don't seek treatment. LOL. Millions. Go for it, man. Use your abilities to spread the word. No, I'm kidding. I'm just fucking around. But, yeah, man, if you guys, it seemed like therapists avoid talking about the meta like it's some trade secret. They don't want to leak. Yeah, for real, man. Talking about the meta might actually be hella useful for schizoid patients. Because then if they tell you, I'm going to try doing this, and this is supposed to do this, let's give it a shot. And then you're like, okay. And then you give it a shot, and you're like, this isn't doing shit for me. And I'm trying real hard to see if I can make it do shit. And then therapists could be like, let's find out why this isn't doing shit for you. Let's think about it, and let's talk. And then you go ahead and think about it at home. And then next time we talk, we'll talk about your conclusions about what you thought, about what we said. That could be fucking useful, right? But, you know, that's just usually not how that works. So, yeah, it's rough. It's a rough thing, man. Hey, is there not a single garden hermit I can get on here so I can fucking bounce ideas off of? You motherfuckers. They're already giving me money. I'm all expecting their time to. What a dick. What a piece of shit. Damn, this is just a really good article with really cool talking points. And it's just hilarious that, like, no one's jumped on today. Even though this is, like, the one that's probably the most interesting. It's probably because of the timing. I normally don't stream at this time. It was just a situation. We kind of allowed it. I'm actually starting a DBT next week, and it seems to go on a schedule like this. Take home work and stuff. I think it might work better than since it gives directive. Yeah, do the take home work, and if it doesn't do shit, if it doesn't do anything, go back and tell them this didn't do shit, this didn't do anything. Or if it does, tell them what I got out of it, but I didn't really get out of it what you thought I was probably expecting to get out of it. But I did get some of these ideas off of it. Because sometimes when they give you, like, some homework to do, like your psych, a lot of the times what happens is you take that homework and then you criticize the homework itself, or you criticize it initially, look at it and go, yeah, this isn't going to do anything, and you start picking it apart and you know, thinking in your head why this is not going to be successful, or why this is not a good thing, or something that's going to work very well for me. Do it anyway, and then explain to your psych why all those things you thought about the exercise, all those kind of cynical or kind of disconnected thoughts that you felt, or whatever. Like, explain all that shit to them. That's the kind of stuff they might make some use out of. Not even like your answers or your results from the activity, but your interpretation of that activity. Sorry. What am I apologizing to? I'm fucking by myself. My house. I'm burping. Sorry, guys. Please don't, unsubscribe because I burped on stream. I'm sure that's like the biggest concern, right? If you're on Twitch, watch me on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. If you're on one of the other ones, do the same thing. Just sub to me or whatever on all of them. Just have like 3 different windows playing all 3 at the same time, just so the algorithm can like improve my shit. So I just have like 3 monitors going with just nothing but me on the screen on 3 different platforms. That'd be great. I'll give updates because I'm gonna try to go meta and try to get them to talk about the type of treatment more than just the treatment itself. Tell them that works for you. Tell them that might help, Taito. I think that was a pretty cool idea you gave. I hope it was a good idea. That's why I need whoever watches these. I know there's somebody, particular, I won't mention who, that says they're going to timestamp my shit. So if you timestamp it, good. And then people can click on it and they don't have to listen to all the boring nonsense in between. They can just listen to the parts they really like. Hey, as long as they listen to like 20-30 minutes of it, that works for me. I don't give a shit. But they don't have to watch the whole thing. I'd prefer they watch the whole thing, but they're probably not going to do that, so what are you going to do, right? Man, I'm exhausted now. Oh shit. Just try playing some fucking non-Creative Commons shit. Hopefully it doesn't fuck me. Copyright my shit. Let's play something else here. That's generally what happens. Fucking Ditto. Rock out, Ditto. Gotta make that Ditto work for it. Work for that money, Ditto. Pick up them bills off the ground, Ditto. Pick up them bills off the ground. That's right, Ditto. You pick up that cash, Ditto. You keep shaking, Ditto. You can be anything I want. Poor Ditto. Oh. The hand stroker Pokemon. Ditto. So sad. The inflatable love doll, cyber doll, love doll Pokemon, the Ditto. It is a tragic fate he suffers with, the Ditto. So, do you guys have any questions for me before you shut all this down? Do you have any thoughts, questions, ideas, so on and so forth that you want to express with me? And of course, one last shill before we get into any last questions here. Patreon, PayPal, Bitcoin, whatever your Dojin, your hentai manga money that you're, spending it on, just, throw some my way. That'd be cool. And I keep doing this shit for you if you find it useful at all. Don't lie. Don't lie if you do find it useful. Or the server. If you like the server, at least, and you just hate me, help me out, because I help with the server. That'd be handy. That'd be useful to a certain degree, I guess. I don't know. Do whatever you want. Who the fuck am I? Anyway, so questions, guys. Do you guys have questions about my content, the discussions, what I do? What have you? I don't care. Do you have anything for me? There's 12 of you right now. There's gotta be something here. All of you are on YouTube. Nobody's watching me on Facebook or fucking Twitch. I gotta start playing more video games. I'll start playing I don't know. What do you fuckers on Twitch like? I gotta start doing more of that. Good talk, man. I've got a dip, but thanks for the stream and Schizo. The Schizo Ditto. Yeah. Schizo. Skitzditto. Schizo. I like Schizo, the Schizoid Ditto. No thoughts, guys? Nothing? Alright. The Matrix. Indeed. Indeed, the Matrix. But do not take the blue or the red pill. Take the grayscale pill. It's a little bit of black and a little bit of white. Grayscale pill. It's the only true pill. This track's pretty good. I like this track. So that's it. Nothing, guys. Am I ending the stream now? Opinions on opossums. They're pretty cool. They're like giant vermin, but I'm not really into vermin. My daughter likes stuff like rats and bats and things, so she thinks they're cute. So I guess I can't hate on them because at least they do that much for me, is make my daughter smile because she likes gerbils and rats and vermin and probably thinks possums are cute. I don't know. Any other questions pertaining to myself, schizoid bullshit, what I talked about or otherwise? Nice stream. Love the therapist voice you made when reading the questions. Oh, my therapist voice? Yeah. Yes, tell me more about you. Tell me, please. Are you a schizoid? Are you one of them? Are you a schizoid? What are you? Do you have the empty core? Are you empty inside? Is there nothing there? Please open up your chest so that we may see what is inside. I see nothing. My little Fräulein. My little Fräulein. Right. Come on, any questions? Give me questions. Give me some of them questions, folks. What do you want from me? I'm Batman. I always like hitting 2 hours for some reason. Because this is a Schizoid Angst variety hour. So I try to usually hit 2 hours. But I don't really have much to say. I mean, I could think of something random, but it would just feel so contrived and so forced. I could literally just look at Reddit and probably find like a million fucking things. And let me actually double check that I didn't miss anything on here. Nah, see, there we go. Conclusion. Let's just read the conclusion. The presence of schizoid features in a patient presenting for treatment requires special attention from treatment staff. In particular, the patient's inability to communicate his complaints may be mistaken for a lack of problems or lack of motivation. The patient's engagement in treatment may be underestimated and lead to gradual decline of the professional engagement, which, for the patient, may create a sense of treatment failure, leading to the discouragement about treatment and the possibility of obtaining constructive life changes. And there's your reference, folks. All the references you can beat your meat to. It's all there. God. Thank you, SCH65, 5 days ago for posting this on r/Schizoid. r/. I'm actually curious as to what the most recent post is. Attractiveness plus schizoid. Human repellent? That's depressing. Do you have bad social anxiety? I used to. No, social anxiety I do not. No. Oh yeah, there was this thing, right? Oh, I'm not doing that. I'll be honest with you guys. What would you recommend with regards to approaching treatment? I mentioned that before, but I will mention it again. Tell them what you are seeking to help with yourself with. What negative symptoms? Because you're a schizoid, you probably spent a lot of motherfucking time reading about psychology and figuring out yourself, philosophy, and so on and so forth. A lot of us do that because we're just trying to figure out what the fuck's going on with us, especially as we get older, and why our relationships keep collapsing in on themselves, the ones we're attempting. Or why we're not attempting any, or why we're lonely but yet don't want to attempt a relationship, blah, 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 whatever. What I would recommend, if possible, 1 second, make sure nobody popped in. What I would recommend, if possible, is to tell them what you're looking to help with, what negative symptoms you're looking for. Tell them anhedonia, tell them evolution, if that's what you're dealing with. Tell them where you think it might be coming from. Tell them, if you think you're schizoid, tell them there's a distinct possibility and blah, blah, blah. Because I've discovered this and that about myself. Approach them with that if possible. Also, tell them to be open with you about the meta of therapy itself, because otherwise you might not really understand what it is they're trying to do, and that way you can explain to them that approach might not be as functional. Because if they try to do stuff that's more like transference and emotionally based and stuff, because you go in there and they don't know you're schizoid and you might be, or you think there's a disconnect going on here, just tell them what it is. Approach them with what might be helpful and what might not be. If they're not willing to work with you in that capacity, get a different therapist, get a different psych, get a psychologist. Don't get, if possible. If you're dealing with stuff like anxiety, like you're trying to drive anxiety and panic attacks down and shit like that, okay, a therapist might be able to help you with a little bit of CBT action and not cock and ball torture, though that might help some people. No, you need to find yourself a nice psychologist, so that psychologist that usually have a slightly better understanding of the more theoretical, and they usually have a bigger specialization when it comes to what do they call it, abnormal psychology or whatever, and PDs and things like that. They probably have more experience with that, and so you can approach them in a direct way, and so on and so forth. If they've never had a schizoid patient, let them be your first, but tell them they're gonna have to study up hard. Send them this article. You know what? Yeah, this article right here, send them the PDF, email them this shit, and tell them, hey, this might be useful for you to understand what the fuck's going on with me. So yeah, get this article. It's called, you gotta get all meta and shit with them. I am not complaining. Ambivalence, construct, and schizoid personality disorder. It's on psychotherapy.psychiatricsonline.org, and it's free. So yeah, do that. Talk to them about, tell them, hey, I read this, and this might be useful because my treatments have failed before. And maybe reading this might help you, take 20 minutes to read this, and it might actually help you with my therapy and stuff. And if you want me to just sit here while you read it because you want to get paid for your time, that's fine. I'll just sit here quietly while you read this article for the next 20, 30 minutes. And, yeah. You can even highlight it for them if you want. Like, print it out and highlight it. Like, if you don't want to email it to them or be weird or they don't want to give you email, just, like, literally print this shit out. Highlight the parts that talk about, like, the issues that come with the therapeutic process for the schizoid patient, if you're schizoid, and then just be like, here you go, check these parts out. Might help us out. Work together. Yes. Group project on my brains. Avolition, anhedonia, and apathy, likely stemming from lack of conscious access to emotions and drives. Yes, Dylan, yes. Yes. Ugh, I'm getting exhausted. Part of me, it's weird, part of me just wants to, like, stop this stream, but the other part of me doesn't, because I don't know what I'm going to do after the stream's over. I feel like I'm just going to lay on my bed and look at the ceiling, but I don't know. Maybe not. Alright, guys. Thanks for the stream. Thanks for listening. Support me if you can. Get on the server if you're schizoid. It might be helpful to you. So on and so forth. Blah, 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 blah. Have whatever the hell kind of day you were going to have. Because I'm no one to tell you what kind of day you should have.